I'm Adrian Nunez, and you're watching Mary Jane News. Police and pot is a combination that typically doesn't end well for smokers. America's exhausting war on drugs has taken its toll on many people, including the cannabis community. But recently, we've begun seeing former police officers join up with organizations in support of drug policy reform. So we had the pleasure of speaking with retired NYPD Lieutenant Joanne Naughton of the Law Enforcement Action Partnership. Naughton spent time making street-level buys in the narcotics unit for years before becoming a public defendant and representing the very same types of people she would bust during her time with the NYPD. Naughton weighed in on our nation's drug crisis, marijuana reform, and even her belief that all drugs should be legalized. Check it out. So I'm with Joanne Naughton, and just give me a little background as your time in the NYPD.
Well, as you know, I was a member of the New York Police Department. I worked on patrol, I worked undercover in narcotics, I was a detective, I was a sergeant, I retired as a lieutenant. When I was in narcotics, I worked undercover. I bought drugs on the street from street sellers. I made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buys. And my backup teams arrested every single one of those buyers.
Oh, wow.
And here we are today. I don't want to tell you how many years later. And police departments are doing the same thing.
How many of those arrests would you say were marijuana related?
Many of them.
You've never actually partaken in?
I have to admit, I have not ever used marijuana or any of the others. From what I understand, it seems to be enjoyable.
So what changed your mind about this whole ideology of the war on drugs?
While I was in the police department, I went to law school. And when I left, I practiced criminal defense work. I met a lot of young people, usually young people, charged with drug law violations. And I saw that they weren't the devil himself. In fact, many of them were decent, nice people who were going to have a criminal conviction for the rest of their lives.
So what do you believe would be a viable solution to this problem?
I believe that all of these substances should be available legally to adults. The prohibition of drugs has not contributed anything to this country except in the wrong way. And the prohibition of drugs, all drugs, not just marijuana, has not caused a decrease in drug deaths, in drug use, in drugs themselves. As it is today, we call these substances controlled substances. They're not controlled. We don't control any of that's an oxymoron. The only people who control them are the cartels.
Being on both sides, being a part of the police department and then being on the other side, a public defendant, what's one thing that you really learned?
Well, you know, it's very different when this person that sold drugs to an undercover officer. It's very different when you have to spend time with him and you talk to him and you get to know him a little bit. These were people and they were not doing something evil. They were, many of them, doing what they had to do to survive.
Thank you so much, Joanne.
I enjoyed it. I hope we make a difference, and thank you.
That'll do it for now, but for all your cannabis culture news, stay tuned to Mary Jane.